How do you do,
Ev-
sir?
Everything well over there?
Very well indeed.
Yeah. It was not near your place that windmill took fire.
No, no. Although, yeah, the the CEO of Improving does have some property that took some damage. So that was rather unfortunate. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, he's doing all right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on the news over here. So
Oh
I
wow.
thought, yeah, we don't have Texas on the news regularly, but
Mhm.
sometimes, um, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's,
I must admit, I'm usually not very happy to see Texas in the headline. Oh, don't want to read that. Um,
yeah, it's sometimes amazing.
yeah.
But I think the news from many places is amazing.
hmm
Yeah, that's the way it goes. I was looking to where was it that I had some questions. Um, let's see, play with new specifications. Um, yeah, I thought you were writing again in JavaScript, but it was not. It was not true. It was Webpack who translated everything in JavaScript,
Oh wow. Yeah.
the original one. Yeah, sometimes when
Yeah.
when you debug, he goes to TypeScript and sometimes to JavaScript.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I think it's because for the interact excuse me, for the interactive script, I did not set up the source map. So
mhm,
I just let's just write some JavaScript and point it at the dist folder, and
mhm.
just execute stuff. So yeah, but um, but very soon, actually, with the change that I'm going to show today, you can now uh, debug your specifications um, by running an application with source map support and everything. Um, so yeah, you'll be able to do the appropriate step through.
Okay, so it would be nice to see that how to debug. Um, then with that new specification language,
hmm
why not use that directly as the specification language? Um, because we had these functions in JavaScript.
hmm
Uh, we did it a little bit different in .NET, but we
Yeah,
could write the specifications directly in that language because it's quite accessible.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The same thing has been occurring to me. Um, yeah, going back to correspondence, the specification language was
Mhm.
factual, um,
Yeah.
and uh, and this is pretty much a much more powerful version of factual. Um, it the syntax is different. With factual, I wanted to focus um, on more more verbose, more read like mathematics, and so it was all words, very excuse me, very few symbols. But yeah, this one is much more accessible to a developer. It's got symbols that mean different things, and a curly brace means that you're about to enter a tuple, and then um, uh, a square bracket or like dot means you're accessing a field, arrow means you're accessing a predecessor. So those those things I think are important to language design. But why not use it as a first class? I like that idea. I think that is ultimately where, or at least one path that we'll be exploring. So one of the things that I try to do with Jinaga is to make sure that the developer who picks it up and starts using it can choose how they want to work. So there have been some things that I was like, well, I'm always going to do it this way, but leave that to the developer to decide. Um,
It's easier than SQL.
yeah, I think so too. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
This,
it's more constrained than SQL.
yeah.
It tells
Mm.
you, if you can express it, then it can do it, and if it can't do it, you can't express it. I mean, that's the contrapositive. So I guess it's got to be true. Um, but yeah, so the what I see is I should be able to give um, uh, at this point a Postman collection to somebody, and that collection contains some queries, some reads, and some writes. Those are the endpoints that I ended up using, and so here run these um, these requests, and it will create some data. Just run this one command line, and it starts up a Docker container. And now you can,
Mm-hmm.
populate that Docker container with some data, and then jump over here to these requests, and you can start reading some data. Um, so ultimately, I see a Visual Studio Code plugin that
Yeah.
understands the language and even further understands the model somehow. Still have to figure out exactly how it's going to understand the model, and it gives you IntelliSense and helps you to write these reads and these writes. Has a little button on the top, so you can just execute them. So it connects to your running container and does these things. And so give that to somebody and say, here, write a React component that displays this data and then collects these facts and writes them back to the model, and then give somebody else a different collection that says, okay, now you're going to take it from this point and you're going to create another component that does this, and then everybody's off building their own components, and then they integrate into a layout, and you've got a full application already integrated. Now take that a step further. Say, okay, I need you to call the Twitter API. So here's the model that represents the intent to send a tweet, and now I need you to write this query that says, oh, I've got an intent. Let me go ahead and call the API, get a response back, write that response back into the model, so the intent is now fulfilled. And that's the only component that they write. And now we deploy that component to the cloud. Somebody else writes the components for the web, and now you've got a full working application that you've got your offline Twitter application.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I see carving these out and sending them out to individuals as this is your piece, and it starts with the specification language. That's their first introduction to being able to read this model. So yeah, then yeah, the obvious question is, why would I translate from specification language into JavaScript specification functions? Or if I'm writing this in .NET, so I'm using Maui and I'm building components for a mobile app, why would I translate from specification language into Link in .NET? And I think the answer is that a developer might prefer the native coding experience. So why not give them the option to do that as well? But yeah, if the developer prefers to keep the specification language and somehow map that into classes in their code, why not give them that option too? And so maybe that's code generation, like it was in correspondence, where there's a build step that turns these specifications into classes and functions, or maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just you've got those. You just copy those strings out of your factual studio or whatever we end up calling it, and put those into resources or into literal strings, or I don't know, whatever, and just do a raw mapping inside of code, if that's what you prefer. Yeah. One other difference, though, is that the specification language, as we are playing with it right now, is producing results by running projections, specifically field projections, and you'll see a new kind of projection, hash projections now. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So so that means that you run this query against the server, it gives you back a result. I mean, just like GraphQL, just like anything else that that does that. But that's not the that's not the CRDT running. That's just give me a projection. Once I have that projection, it has already thrown away all of the history, so it can no longer synchronize. But then you hit a different endpoint /feed instead of /read, and
Go and load the facts.
Yeah. So now that gives you back the fact hashes, and then you've got code in there that says, okay, I already know this one, I don't know that one. Let me go load, get all of their data, put it into the database, update my bookmark, go back, repeat. And so all of that code is implemented deep inside of the Jinaga client, and the way that it gets its specification in order to run that would be the code that you write on top. So yeah, it makes sense, I think, to do that transition, especially in C Sharp, to do that transition from the specification language into Link, so that now you can continue writing your application, say, oh, there's a little bit more that I need here, modify your Link, and that whole process keeps working.
Yeah, because it's a lot of work to write that, but yeah, there is. Yeah. Then in the index.js, let me see, in the latest version, you were having that me. Oh, but I'm not sure whether let me see, which version do I have here? That's the one of the 18 July. Yeah, that should be okay. Wait, let me, because you probably did some more work and I didn't patch that one. Let me share that screen.
Yeah, I'm going to have to start another Pluralsight course so that I can slow down. Not have so many commits.
Okay. So actually you had these projections, and I merged with it locally, play with the new specification language. So where was it here? Now in the docs, yeah, specification text. So that was just my model here. And so I was defining my start fact DBS user as me. And the me comes from, where did I define it here? Actually,
yeah, it would be right there in known facts. Yep.
Yeah. But why do we want to define that in index.js? We could directly declare the me inside the specification.
Because that is that was an interim step to now me represents the logged in user. So now that you can send in a specification via an endpoint, if that endpoint is authorized, then me ends up being the user fact for that particular user. And so that was that was an interim step so that I could kind of play with that idea.
Okay, so in the latest version, this will not be part of the code anymore.
Right. In fact, index.js is really just a, um, a, a stepping stone. It was a way to play with the specification language on the way to being able to send in specifications via an endpoint.
Okay. And so
Yep.
me is in fact the logged in user.
Yes.
And depends on whether you want the logged in user to be your first fact, but you could also use something else as your first fact.
Yeah, sure could.
Okay. All right.
Or some combination. So you could be looking for what's the relationship of the logged in user to something else. And so, like the Improving You company. And so you say, okay, let me show all of the courses in the company, or all the courses in a particular semester. And then you also pass in user equal me. And now you say, okay, give me the ones for which I have registered. And so it's like, here's the whole thing, plus extra information about your relationship with it.
Then, but perhaps it has been changed because this was your version beginning of the week. If we just run npm interactive, this is working fine.
Mm-hmm.
If we go to the results, it is not working because the result from specification was deleted in your code. And I don't know why.
Okay, right.
I don't know why you deleted it.
Yeah. I renamed it. Yes. Yep. I didn't realize that when I made that change, I was breaking index.js because it's just JavaScript. It doesn't have the check. But yeah, I renamed that to. I think I renamed it to read.
And so it's probably fixed in the latest version.
I didn't go back and fix index.js, so we can fix that right now, though. So if you open up Postgres store, so under yeah, right there. So
we have here Postgres. Wait.
maybe at
We
save.
just go here and we look for results from. Wait, that was the one, produce the results, stream from specifications.
Yeah.
Oh. Here he goes to the JavaScript.
Yeah, but actually that's okay. You can see there's read right above it. And read takes the start and the specification, but of course, no bookmarks. It doesn't need those. No limit. So yeah, I think we just changed the name.
Here, and I just change this results from specification. I make this read, and it takes start and specification. So I save that one. Results, and there it works.
Yeah. Yep.
I say, where is that function gone?
Yep, I changed the name because it now is a part of the store interface. So every store should be able to do that. Currently, only Postgres can. I need to implement that same thing in the in-memory store. So it's kind of funny. The in-memory store is usually the easy one, but I went straight to the Postgres one. But yeah, so by making it part of the interface, now I've exposed it to the rest of the Jinaga pipeline, and so I'm so now I'm able to bubble that up to the front end, not front end, but I mean to the to the endpoints.
Okay, but so that means I have to implement that in the SQLite database also.
Let's see. I
Because
think yes.
the iStore interface is implemented there, except for query. They
Yeah.
didn't do
So
that one.
so far,
Load
I've
and
only been
save.
changing the TypeScript version. So in Jinaga.js, the store interface has this new method. So yeah, I haven't changed the .NET interface yet, but yes, I think that we will end up wanting to do the same thing, even if it is client-side code. And I don't yet know how we want to, how we want the developer to be able to query the data that's physically on a phone. But somehow they should be able to send in the specification and get back the results and see, okay, this is the current state of this phone's database, and be able to figure things out that way.
Mm-hmm. Because that's for the results. Then the stream you didn't
Right.
make it part of the iStore specification.
Yeah, not yet. So I haven't decided on what the name should be, but yeah, the next thing is going to be to rename that, add that to the store interface, and bubble that through, and expose that as the feed endpoint. So the most obvious name for that would be feed, but I already have a class called a feed, so maybe stream, and so maybe I change the name of the endpoint to be stream. Yeah, not really sure what the naming convention should be. There's a lot of competing names inside of the code, and I need to just figure out, okay, what does this name truly mean, and make that consistent.
Because towards the local database, because here we have the bookmark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That bookmark is not useful for the local database.
Yeah, as it turns out, it is used. It's not parsed from the specification.txt, and so I just always pass in an empty bookmark. But so the bookmark is kind of interesting. The labels are what I'm using currently in order to identify which feed you're talking about, which stream, and and that's not going to support versioning. So as you release new versions of your application, you should be able to update your specifications, add more stuff to them, which means that it would have more streams in it, more feeds in it. And the ones that are already there should keep working. So you shouldn't have to throw away your bookmarks and start with some new, start from the beginning and say, oh yeah, I already know that. Read all the way up to present day and they say, oh, here's some new information. So it should be able to preserve bookmarks from version to version. And the labels that you assign are completely up to you. So you could just change the labels, and if you just change the labels, you haven't changed the intent. That would still be throw away your bookmarks, because that's kind of part of the identity of a bookmark right now. So to solve those two very closely related problems, what I'm thinking about is, as I always do, compute a hash of the specification of the feed. So take the full specification with all of its projections, and then you break that apart into smaller feed specifications that say, okay, I'm just going to evaluate these tuples. I'll evaluate these tuples with the not exist clauses in there, and I'm just interested in those results. And so if you take one big specification, break it apart into those smaller ones, then also anonymize the labels. So just like when generating the SQL, I don't use the actual label like course and user that you've used in the specification. I turn those into F1, E2, F2, and so anonymize the labels, get it down to those smaller structures, and then hash that somehow. I'm still working on exactly how to do that in a canonical way. And then the ID of each bookmark will be the hash of that structure, and then you'll be able to specify this is as far as I've read on that particular feed. And so as you go version to version, the ones that you've already read will remain consistent. They'll still hash to those values, even if you change the labels, even if you've added more stuff to your projections. And so your bookmarks will continue to work from one version to the next. So yeah, long-winded answer, but yes, that little empty array right there is eventually going to be something that you have inside of the specification.txt, inside of the body of the request.
Mm-hmm. And then one time when I was debugging through, I saw that we had twice the same SQL. But where was that? Do I still have breakpoints here or not? Yeah, it must be here. SQL queries. I think so. Let's see. So if we go to, oh, what did I do here? Why is this bash? I need that one. I still have it running here, yeah. Stop it here, go to the terminal and run it here. And streams, yeah, if I go to no, I'm already outside here.
Yeah.
Oh, I should be.
Yeah, inside of that lambda.
Why is it not accepting? Yeah, here it is inside. Wait,
yeah, now it's not running though.
ES file. Let's try to put one here. Who knows?
Okay, yeah, you're in the TS file, and since it doesn't have the source map, it doesn't know how to map those to running code.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if you switch to postgresstore.js, then you should be able to set the breakpoints.
Put it here, for example.
Yeah, so you're still inside of PostgreStore TS. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute, that worked.
No. Now I'm in here. I'm in this one.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I can just close it.
Got it.
Now I'm here. So if I go and look for these queries, where is that? Probably here. No streams. Why don't I see? I would like to see this one.
Huh. Maybe it's. It wouldn't be able to optimize it away.
It's inside that block, so connection factory, no.
Yeah, let's look at the next block and see what's in there. So maybe, yeah. So the second block right there, that's one SQL query. And
no, it's not here. There was.
Yeah, maybe. I don't see any closures.
Yeah, no, I see it. SQL queries. Yeah, so okay, this is one. If we have if we see the SQL query here, so that's just one, but the queries. But if I go over it, you already see it. You have two SQL statements here.
Okay, yeah, I see now.
And they are both identical.
Okay, I see dot dot dot, so it's like, yeah, there's a lot of SQL in the middle. So can you copy those blocks out to other files?
For here, because I copied them out in one or the other way. Rename format. Why don't I have this in my variables here? It's going to be here. Yeah, here it is. Okay, and
That's
here
easier,
I could copy them out. Copy value. Make in Notepad.
Yeah, you can also just create a new file right here inside of VS Code. That way you're still showing the right window.
That was the trick last time.
Or just Control N. I mean, it doesn't have to be a saved file. Just
put it here. Control N. Okay.
Yeah.
That was. I'm not having everything here.
Yeah. I think it's just one long line, so it's just scrolled over. But actually, that helps us. So hit Enter, copy the next one, and paste it just below, and that way we'll be able to see where they differ.
Back to this one, I go.
Yes, that one is 0.
Yeah. So now.
But yeah, you didn't grab 1. I think you just copied 0 again.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then it would be identical, of course.
Yeah, the SQL. Yeah, just the SQL property. So, yeah, right-click on. Go ahead and expand 1 again. But then click on the SQL colon select.
This one?
Nope, just a few lines down. You've got underneath 1. You've got now bookmarks, labels. Yeah. Copy that value. Yeah, and let's paste that as a second line. Okay, so there is
and now there is something different.
Okay, so it starts with the first one has an extra fact in it. So we've got fact IDs from 2, 3, and 4 in the first one, but then just 2 and 3 in the second one. So yeah, I think you'll also see that in the second one you have a where not exists clause, and the first one will not. So there's the where ID and hash and not exists. Yeah.
Oh, indeed, they are completely different. For one or the other reason, perhaps I made the same mistake because I copied them out to Notepad, and perhaps I copied twice on the same. So why do we have 2 times the same query? But okay.
Yeah.
So it was wrong what I thought. Good. I think that was all what I had as questions for the moment.
All right.
I'm very curious to what you made. Wait, I will stop this stream then.
Okay. So let's take a look at that. And here is Postman. Okay. So, so now we have a couple of endpoints. That is pretty small. I don't know if I can even change the font in Postman.
It is readable but difficult.
So let's do. Okay, control equal. Oh, that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So so yeah, we've got Jinaga/read and Jinaga/write as 2 more endpoints. So in the past we've had Jinaga/query, where you send in a query and then it gives you back those the fact IDs, and then Jinaga/load, where you pass in the fact IDs, the hashes, and then it gives you back the graphs. So all the fields and their predecessors and everything, with the transitive closure already computed. So now read and write are intended for human use. So and then there was Jinaga/save, which is how the client application posts data back to the server. But Jinaga/read is a human readable query, and that includes all the results and the projections. And then Jinaga/write is a human readable or human writable version of save. So with read, we've got the same specification language that we've been seeing before. So you define your facts up at the front. You declare a few facts, and then write your specification. And if the name of the given matches a fact that's declared up here, then that's passed in, and then it runs that query and this and the projections, and gives you back those results as JSON. So so now you've got this working against a real live server. So so this lets you just explore it in real time with your model already running, and then there's a couple of extra things that turned out to be just really darn handy. So so here I've got all the courses.
It would be very nice to change that local host by a public IP address.
Oh yes, yes indeed. In fact,
then we could try from here.
Yeah. So actually, this weekend I will be doing exactly that. I will be publishing this new version of Jinaga that we've been working on for so many weeks, and then I'll rebuild the Improving You application so that now these 2 endpoints will be publicly available via Improving You, and little secret right now. Read is not authenticated. So at the moment, once I publish it, you'll be able to just read everything that's happening inside of the Improving You model. So you'll be able to play with it. But yeah, we'll definitely fix that before it becomes a thing that we start using in earnest. But okay, so give myself a little bit more. Well, I guess that's all the space I get. So I've got all these courses, and I really want to identify a course not just by its title, because I want to be able to see respond back with respect to which course I'm talking about, that kind of thing. So the way in Jinaga a course is, or any fact is uniquely identified, is the entire contents of the fact. Its type, its fields, its predecessors, the transitive closure. That is the ID. But of course, that becomes a large data structure. So instead, we have a stand-in for that ID, and that is the hash of all of that stuff. So what I can say is the hash is wait a minute. Yeah, so courses is the field. Yeah, so for each course, I'm now going to do a projection. So right there, I'll say the hash is equal to hash course. And then, boom, I have the ID coming back for each of the courses. And so that is pretty darn handy. What would be even more handy is now to be able to use that hash to then make further queries. So let's do one on the fly. Let's just say I'm going to add another request. It's a post, just like in GraphQL, you're posting your query. So HTTP localhost Jinaga read, and now the body is going to be raw text, and we're going to let the course, which is an improving u.course. I want that to be a particular course here. So I could build up all of the predecessors and the fields and identify a particular course like that. Or I could say, I'm really just interested in this one. And so that's equal to hash that big old value. And then I can say, given the course, improving u.course, I want to find the title. In fact, I can copy some of this from the other one. So let's go ahead and copy that. Yep, so I'm going to be grabbing the Improving You course title for that course, now it exists in the next course. And let's just go ahead and run that. And boom. Now I get back the title fact. And then I can further project that into just title.value. I think there was a bug in this one. I don't know that I fixed this bug. Okay, I did fix that bug. All right. Yep. So now I can continue my projections from just a hash and keep on exploring the database. And so this is going to be not just handy for a human that's going to be doing all of this exploration, but also this is how the client application is going to call the feed endpoint, or the stream endpoint, once I decide on the name. And so the client application already has the hash, so it's going to just pass those in as the parameters and not have to build up the whole structure in order to do the query. So yeah, I built it for that, but then it's like, hey, this is useful for humans too. Let's go ahead and give you the opportunity to read the hash back out so you can use it. And now the primary reason that I'm about to publish that this weekend is that we have another system that we're building and improving that needs to read this data in, and I'm like, I already have something very similar to GraphQL ready to go. I will give this other application developer the power to just query the Improving You database without having to set up an Improving You client themselves. So we're already talking through, well, okay, now how do I how do I sync things up? How do I know if the name of a course has changed and all that stuff? And say, well, you know what? You're starting to get into exactly the reasons why you want Jinaga in the first place. Oh, Jinaga's too complicated. Well, okay, then you've got JSON. You make your choice. Yeah. So that is the read endpoint. And then the write endpoint, you can see that it just has the declaration syntax and no specification. So it's basically every fact that you declare becomes it becomes part of the specification, or it becomes a real fact. It saves that fact. So I have not yet pushed.
Release. It saves it to the database.
Yes.
It's the same as g.fact.
Yep, exactly. Yep. So the syntax is a little bit different than just doing j.fact. So first of all, the type is declared as part of the variable, and so therefore it's not inside of the fact itself, which means that you have to declare variables at every level. You can't just go into a predecessor here and just use that syntax there. So you have to declare variables at each level. I could make it so that you could put the type inside of the fact, but I like it this way better, so I'm just going to keep it this way. And then you've also got arrays now, so you can specify that prior is an empty array, so let's take a look at the courses so far, and we've got Intro to Jinaga, Disk, Strength Finder, How Sales Works, your first Jinaga component, and then some stuff in Chicago. But we don't yet have your first Jinaga component. So this is going to be in fall 2021 in Dallas. When I hit this button, there's going to be a problem. So I'll hit send. It looks like everything worked, but there was actually a problem. And that is this the one? That is not the one. This one right here. Okay. Yeah, so this is the running Improving You application. And it says, oh, no users logged in while attempting to authorize Improving You company. So just to prove that that came from here, send it. Yeah, there it is again. So the problem so far is that this instance of Postman is not authorized. It's not authenticated. So there is no logged in user when trying to call write. And there are authorization rules. And excuse me. As it hits those authorization rules, it first hits the company and it says, nope, nobody's logged in, so I'm not going to allow that. So to authorize, this is another thing that I need to change fairly quickly. I'm going to set up the cookies. I should be able to use a bearer token instead of a cookie. And that's going to be really important when now you're building a mobile application and you want your mobile application to hit this backend. This backend so far is just set up for for browser authentication. So it's just based on cookies. So what I'm going to do is come in here and make sure that I can sync the cookies with localhost, and over here I'm going to make sure that my Postman interceptor is turned on. This makes me very nervous. It's a this is a Chrome extension that has permission to read all of the traffic. Intercept it actually has permission, I think, to modify that that traffic. So be very careful about the extensions you install. This one is extremely powerful, and if it was written by nefarious people, it could be very dangerous. And so this is going to grab cookies from the localhost domain, and it's going to send them over to Postman. So let me make sure that we don't have any cookies in here. We are syncing, hit refresh, and get logged in. And now we have a session cookie. Okay. So, so now this should be authenticated. Okay, you can close now. There you go. So now the next problem should be that now we have an authorization rule, but it's not for the logged in user. So so there is a user logged in, but it's not the user who actually owns that company. So this right here is the public key that's generated when I log in using my improving credentials. And as you saw just a moment ago, I didn't log in using my improving credentials. I logged in using a fake login. So I'm going to fix that by just doing this. So now this is going to be a completely different improving company. So this is from a different user, a different creator. So therefore, this is a completely different fact. But now, because it's me, I'm authorized to write that. Fact to me has not been defined, but it's interesting. It's got the cookies, so it's yeah. All right, I will have to see what the problem is there. But what should be happening is right here, these known facts that are coming in from here, get known facts for the user. It should see that I have a logged in user, and therefore I put the me fact in that collection. I wonder why that doesn't work. But let's see. We can do a little bit of debugging while we're here. Okay, so I'm going to kill this and then go to the JavaScript debug terminal. npm run. Excuse me. npm run dev is how I start up the Improving You course library. Now it's listening at localhosts 3000, which means that it has restarted and therefore has dropped the session. These sessions are just stored in memory. And so if I refresh here, then I need to log in again. And that should have updated my cookies here. Let's see if it did. But this right here, I should now be able to hit that breakpoint. Yeah, there we go. So this is saying that my user is UI director. Okay, perfect. IU director, improving you director. So I've got the profile. Oh, interesting. This doesn't have the. Oh, wait a minute. No. Get or create user fact. That's the next thing that actually gets the user fact. So now I've got the user fact, and that is a Jinaga user with a public key and a hash. And so this should set me and give you that declared fact, having that fact and that hash. So I should even be able to see the hash right there. Yeah. Okay. So with that, it should. Oh, and now it did. I have no idea why it didn't work that first time. But let's just make sure that this is still doing the right thing. Boom. Yeah, no new messages. So that was odd. Something was going a little bit haywire in there, but yeah, now it has created a new improving new company for this particular logged in user, and set up a course in that company. And so now if I get the courses not from that other user, but the courses in the company declared by me, then there it is, your first Jinaga component. So yeah, this will allow a brand new developer to just take a Postman collection and a Docker image, start up their own container, and start playing around with that model.
Okay. So this is in fact the final model for communicating with the server from other platforms as well.
Yeah, I think well, there's one more endpoint to create. That's the feed or stream endpoint, and yeah, once I've got that endpoint in, then I can switch over to the .NET side and start generating those streams, and or generating the calls to that stream endpoint, and then looping through and updating the local database.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll be pretty close to now being able to write some .NET code that does what it needs to do.
Yeah. Then we can start implementing, or actually make some model that works with data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, we're creeping up on it. But yeah, lots of other things to do also along the way, like publish that publish that Docker image. There's a whole side project about creating a Visual Studio Code plugin that makes this whole thing easier. Since Caden brought up the language server idea, I was wondering if I could rope him into exploring that one. While we focus on runtime. But yeah, then support bearer tokens. Make sure that you enable cores, which I think you just have to do in the host application. I don't think there has to be a change in Jinaga to support cores. But yeah, there does need to be a change in Jinaga to support the bearer token, I think. Although that still might be part of the authentication middleware. Yeah, it should just be a middleware thing. So yeah, still no change to Jinaga support bearer tokens. But yeah, when I create the starter image, it has to have cores turned on. It has to do the bearer tokens. It has to have some rudimentary authentication built in by default. So maybe just a fake login page. But then you should then be able to use that as a base image and specify some additional files to say, well, here's the real authentication I want to use. Here's the real authorization rules I want to use. Here's some extra stuff that I want you to do. And now you can take that, use it as a base image, build in some extra stuff. Now you deploy that, and that becomes your server. And you can do that without standing up a whole new node project and build pipeline and everything. You just create a new image.
That will be a lot easier, because now before you have like my virtual machine, before you have Postgres installed, before you have the whole Jinaga environment installed, it's I just prefer to take a copy of the virtual machine to be safe.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and this will be even better than a virtual machine. It'll just be a container.
Yeah.
You just go into your Docker desktop and just stop that one, start another one. And the container will have, it will be based on Postgres. So it will have the Postgres database encapsulated within it. You don't have to have two containers that are talking to each other.
But so then everything will run under Linux in that container.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, because Docker can use WSL, so I should be able to run that container in the virtual machine.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, now to do any debugging, of course, you'll want to just run a Jinaga server yourself, not run an image of one, and then because we're publishing the source map with the Jinaga package, I think we are. We'll have to double check that. Yeah, that was some work that you did. I think that's now working with the package. So yeah, that application, you should be able to set breakpoints in the TypeScript code that ships with the package, and then hit those breakpoints from the server.
Oh, I didn't, because I was playing around a little bit with the share list application also.
Yeah.
Shared list. And I was not going to the Jinaga, the local installation, but using the package. And there I still have I was having some funny things. I think the source maps are not working in the package itself.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look at that as I produce the new package and see if I can. Oh, you just need to turn that on and then it works. Yeah, I definitely want that experience to work.
Well, because by going deeper, then I forget the whole package. Then I go back to shared list to how was it working again? And I came back to the diagram in that README file where we had the diagram where we had the .NET platform and the JavaScript platform with the progress and all the endpoints because that one we should update then.
Yeah, they're definitely getting out of date.
Yeah. We have to add this read and write endpoints. Okay,
yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. I want. I basically want to segment the documentation. So rewrite the documentation again. The whole step thing. Yeah. Bah. No. Segment the documentation so that you start with here's everything that you need to know to get just the Postman experience. So here's how you set up your Docker container. Here's how you read. This is the description of the specification language. Go and be successful. And then next step. Oh, you're going to start writing in JavaScript or in TypeScript. Here's the extra stuff you need for that. Or another section. Oh, you're going to start writing in .NET. Here's the stuff you need for that. Or here you're going to extend the base image by adding some authorization and some authentication, and so here's how you do that. And so have those as big chunks of kind of getting past one gate and going on to the next to kind of match the developer's experience as they go through learning this stuff.
Yeah, but I think indeed having that container available just for testing, for playing with it, is a nice step. Because even with the documentation today, to set up your first image and to start playing with it is takes too long.
Yeah. Yep. And I also have one running on Jinaga.com, so you can just get Postman, point to that, start playing.
Okay, you want to have the database, the endpoint running on Jinaga.com then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I already have a playground where you can type in some TypeScript code, and and it'll just run in memory in your browser. But yeah, why not be able to write the specification language and hit that endpoint, and then switch over to the TypeScript shell, and then now start querying that in TypeScript, learn how to do that. That would be really cool if you didn't even need to run the one command line to start a container.
But where was that you said you could play with it?
Yeah, if you go to Jinaga.com, and then you've got...
wait, I will share that screen.
Yeah.
Concepts, Jinaga.
Oh. Dropped it exactly the right time.
Yeah, he threw everything out. Again. Oh, that Discord bug is. I'm sharing that screen, that stream, but
yeah, it's taking a little while to get it loaded. But oh goodness.
it throws me out.
Wow.
It throws me.
Okay. Well, I'll just tell you where that is then. In Jinaga.com. So you've got if you go into docs, then like I think the first time that you really see it is if you hit storing information. Now you've got try it buttons.
Try it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. So those load that code up into an editor. That's them. Starts with an M. For some reason, Montemagno is in front of my head. That's not right. But it's it loads that up into the editor, and then it executes that code using the in-memory collection, the in-memory store, and you can write write your facts and your queries.
Oh, indeed, I forgot about that one.
Yep. So
extend that one with the specification, with the new specification language.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, so you'll be able to do TypeScript over here on this one, and then you'll be able to do the specification language on that one. Have them go to a store that I'm not sure how I'm going to drop information out of that store every once in a while. We'll figure out something to make that safe. But yeah, give you a playground.
Because now that one doesn't go to a central store.
Correct. Yeah, it's just in memory in your browser.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll make it easy for a developer to get started. Yeah. In the meantime, I need to get going.
Okay. Then we see each other next week.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Michael, thank you very much. See you
so much,
next week.
All right. See you then.
Bye-bye.